Hi guys, it's Kelly here and I am back with another video. Today's video, we are going to be looking at some super simple shading that you can do to add to your backgrounds and to your die cuts to make your cards a little bit more dynamic without really having to put in too much effort for it. So this video is going to be using some products from Pretty Pink Posh. This is their new August release, which is all about Halloween. It's super adorable, and our card today is kind of more on like the sweeter side, if you will. So the first things first, when you're going to have a card that has like a little bit simpler of a concept or a little bit simpler shading, your color palette is going to matter quite a bit because we want to have a striking color palette so that it makes the card already more interesting. So I went with so orange and, well, a yellow orange and a blue green are complementary colors. And then bringing in the kind of yellow green color is creates a triadic color scheme, which is going to make everything kind of more interesting to look at already. I picked out all of my colors, die cut them out of colored cardstock. That's going to save us a ton of time for our more simple shading. And then for the banners, this is banner 4, which I really like this one. But you want to go ahead and stamp first. It makes it easier to die cut out and have it be centered. And then I'm just going to run everything through my Platinum 6 to cut it out. These are meant to be like the boo and the pumpkin are meant to be shakers, which I love, but I like that you can use them as full die cuts as well. So I'm only going to use 2 colors per element to add my shading. So for the orange, which is like it's more of like a cantaloupe kind of color. What is this? Coral, I think is maybe what it's called. Um, I think it's Spellbinder's Coral, honestly. But then I shaded it about 3/4 of the way up with Bright Persimmon Soft. And then I added a little bit of a deeper shading toward the bottom with the Bright Persimmon. And then I brought in the Crackling Campfire. So it kind of has like that gradient from top to bottom. I'm going to do the same thing with the Boo, but I'm going to use Mermaid Lagoon and then Uncharted Mariner to get that teal color that I'm looking for. But the top portions, or like the outside edges, are always going to be the color of the cardstock. This is just going to save us a ton of time. Like I said, low effort, because sometimes you just need a card that is. And then I always like to blend it out kind of with the lighter color. For the pumpkin vine and the leaves, I am using Mowed Lawn and Rustic Wilderness. And again, it's the first color kind of 3/4 up, and then a little bit darker about halfway, and then the final darkest color just kind of on the bottom portion. I did cut out 2 of those leaves. I don't know if I mentioned that. I think this is the shortest video maybe that I have ever done. Truthfully, because my cards usually have so much more like involvement, but that doesn't mean that this card is bad. It just means that it's different. And I think that it's important to show different ways to achieve looks because all of us are at different kind of skill levels and prefer different ways to create things. So normally I love to color my die cuts up with my markers. In this case, I'm only going to use 1 or 2 colors. And this is just to give our elements some more shape. So I just connected the 2 lines on a curve. Or the 2 divots on a curve for the pumpkin. And then for the leaf, I am just going to add a little bit of shading around where those lines are already in there. For the little vine, you just kind of pick one that you want to be on top, and whichever one you want to be on top, whichever part of the vine you want to be on top, then you add the darker shading right next to it. The boo is the only one that got 2 colors. And this is just to help it look a little bit more 3D. So make the die cut just a little bit more dynamic. And I'm using a mid-tone to add shading to the left. So it's the left side of the larger letters and then the left side of where like the middle of the holes are cut out. I don't know how else to describe that. And then I blended that out with a little bit of a lighter teal. And as you can see, doing those shadows, you want to do them all on one side. That will help it to look like it's kind of popping off the page a little bit. And then for the background, I originally was going to use the chevron cover plate, and I just didn't like the way it looked. So I decided that I was going to use the cloud stencil and then the spooky trees. So this is going to give me a little bit of a sky and then a little bit of like a grassy hill at the bottom. For the trees, I want to make sure that I'm not putting that like in my clouds. So I did mask that off, and then I'll just kind of hold this in place. You absolutely could use a crafty cling mat, and if I wasn't working very quickly, I probably would have done the same thing. And then because I want this to be a little bit softer, I feel like this card would be good for like a baby's Halloween or like a baby shower. Didn't we do that last year? Didn't we have a Halloween themed baby shower? I think we did. But anyway, so like the whole palette is just a little bit softer. And so with that in mind, when I'm adding my details, I'm kind of leaning in more to that kind of sweet um appeal that this would have versus like a spooky. So I did my what do we call that? The trunk. It's not a trunk. What is it? The pumpkin stem. We did that. And then glued down the leaf and then the little vine. I tucked in the edge of the vine so it looked like it was coming out from behind the leaf. And then the boo I'm just going to do right across the front because that orange and the teal are complementary colors. One's gonna pop off the other, and I really like the way that looked, but it was looking like it needed a little bit something extra. Um, so I'm going to put my banner down at the bottom. I could have gone with a brown ink and it probably would have been a little less harsh than the black, but I think it's okay. If I had to do it over, I might have used a darker brown so that it was a little bit more matchy matchy, but I like my matchy matchy. And then leaning into that kind of sweet side, like I said, I am going to add some details with my white gel pen, some highlights along the pumpkin, but then I'm going to create a little polka dot on the boo, which will, again, it's going to add that little bit of interest. You could do like a tone on tone stencil there. You could do a tone on tone, like background stamp there to like just add a little bit of interest. I do want to mention, since I did tell you it was for a video hop, Pretty Pink Posh, the hop is open through August 11th. And if you want to win, you need to leave your comment before then. They are giving away a $20 gift certificate for each stop along the hop. Here, I'm just using that same green I used for the leaves to add a shadow underneath. It's just going to ground our pumpkin. And then, of course, I love the shimmer, so I added a little bit of shimmer to our pumpkin as well. Hopefully you can see it kind of catch the light. I really like the way that it came out, even though it is a little bit simpler. That doesn't mean that it can't be pretty and that you can't get something done quickly if you need it. So thank you guys so much for joining me. I always appreciate your time, and I will catch you on the next video. Bye.